Hello and welcome. Thank you for listening. My name is Sarah Baumert. I'm a yoga teacher, Feldenkrais practitioner, and host of the Sarah B. Yoga podcast. The Sarah B. Yoga podcast and my practice, Body Matter, is an interdisciplinary learning space where we explore the many ways that movement can help facilitate body acceptance and awareness, reduce pain and stress, regulate the nervous system, and build strength and ease. My teaching plays with the synthesis of Feldenkrais awareness through movement lessons, traditional yoga asana, creative imagery, breathing exercises, self-massage, and a compassionate mindset to help you feel a greater sense of ease and comfort in yourself. Sarah B. Yoga and Body Matter have a lot of other program offerings. These podcasts are just a taste of my teaching. Each week I teach a range of online classes, including a gentle yoga class, a level 2 class for more advanced students, and Feldenkrais classes with monthly themes, anatomy lessons, and Q&A sessions for more in-depth study. I have 2 new online series offerings for the fall. A Feldenkrais series titled Coming to Your Senses, an exploration of the spaces of the eyes, the mouth, jaw, ears, vocal and breathing apparatus. And my second course, Wakeful Body, the blending of yoga and Feldenkrais on Monday nights. As one student recently described Monday nights, that felt like I just gave myself a massage. So these fall classes will be a continuation of some fan favorite stretching sequences that incorporate bolsters and other props to enhance the poses. There is still plenty of time to join these courses live or via the course recordings. You can find more information about these offerings in the show notes. Okay, on to today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Hello and welcome to the Sarah B. Yoga podcast. This podcast is an intersection of my yoga teaching and my training in the Feldenkrais method. Today's class is an exploration of breath. In yoga, we call this pranayama. However, today's lesson will be more of a Feldenkrais-inspired way of paying attention to the breath. With each proposal, each variation of breathing, I invite you to listen and take care of yourself. If at any moment you feel the way you are breathing creates tension or shortness of breath, please do the breathing proposal with much less intensity or even imagine the movement. If you enjoy this lesson, you may consider joining the Feldenkrais series, Being Good to Yourself, moving towards wholeness and pleasure, caring for your neck, shoulders, eyes, and breath. In this series, we will explore lessons that promote self-connection and pleasure, finding equanimity in movement, and adapting to change with resilience. In a world where technology has become ever more prevalent, it can be very easy to feel disconnected from our bodies, from our emotions, and even the people around us. And tension in the neck, shoulders, and eyes can become a persistent nuisance, as well as we may find ourselves holding our breath or not breathing in the most optimal way. Through these gentle exploratory movements of the Feldenkrais method, we can find a sense of joy and connection that helps us feel more human. So check out more info on this series that anyone can join via live stream or recordings. So let's begin to explore the breath today in some ways that hopefully are novel and new and interesting for you. So come on up to stand. And as you stand, notice your posture in standing. And that word posture might bring up many things for you. So notice what it does bring up. And even when I say the word posture, if you change the way that you're standing, as best as you can, just stand in a way that feels like you today. Like, this is how I want to stand without too much change. And then if you were to stand here for a while, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, do you have a sense of what might fatigue first for you? What would be the first place that would fatigue? And that could be an area that maybe already feels a little bit of discomfort, or it could be an area that maybe just doesn't feel as supported in some way. And then just notice how easy standing feels. Maybe it doesn't feel easy at all. Notice the sense of your chest and your upper back. And do you have maybe a particular kind of image of your chest, your ribs? Great. Okay, and then find your mat, go ahead and come down and lie on your back. And as we're working with the breath today, it's not just the physical movements of the breathing, but also the sense of interoception. And that word just means the overall internal sensations of the body. And those are not always easy to listen to. So if the movements and the proposals today seem like they should be easy, just know that this is really subtle work. And so just giving yourself the space, the patience. Some things you might feel really easily, other things might be really elusive. So just begin to notice the contact of your back with the floor, the whole back of you. Is there any area that you can sense is contracting a little bit? And if so, could you let that go so that you feel a little bit wider? And what's the sense of support that you have? Does it really feel like the floor is supporting you? Or are you lifting a little bit, lifting yourself out of the floor? Begin to shift your attention to your breathing. And very simply, how do you know you're breathing? What parts of you are responding to your breath? And just notice there are moments where you are breathing in, and there are moments where you are breathing out. And what happens between the breathing in and the breathing out? Can you feel, what do you do to reverse the direction of your breath? And just make sure that you're comfortable. So if you would like to have your knees bent and your feet standing, find your comfort with your legs, your pelvis. And just begin to think of your chest, sense your chest. And we can divide the chest in a really binary way, thinking of it having two halves. The sternum, the breastbone, goes straight down the center of the chest. So you can think of that as a midline in the front. And then on the back of you, your spine is also a midline. And so there's a right side of your chest and there's a left side of your chest. As you breathe, whatever kind of normal pace, comfortable pace you're breathing in, can you just pay attention to the two sides of the chest? And I'm not asking you to change the sensation or expand more or less, just noticing the two sides. In the same way that at the beginning of a lesson, we often compare, contrast how one side of the body might meet the floor, can you look for any differences, any cues on the right side of the chest and the left side of the chest that might tell you that there's something a little bit different from one to the other? There are 3 lung lobes on your right side, and there are 2 lobes on your left side. On the left side, we have space for the heart. So we have a right side of the chest and a left side of the chest, but then could you also think of there being another division of a front and a back? So say the volume of your chest, there's a half of it is in the front and half of it is in the back. And again, as you inhale in no particularly special way, can you feel those 4 areas or compartments of the chest change? Observing the front of the right side of the chest, expanding or changing as you inhale. And the back of the right side of your chest. Feel how it changes. And then feel both the front and the back of the right side of your chest, really creating a distinction in your attention to the right side of the chest. And of course, that internal pressure on the right side of the chest changes when you exhale. So noticing, paying attention to your exhale just as much as the inhale. And then come over to the left side and really make that distinction. Sense the left side of the chest in the front. Feel how it changes with your inhalation and exhalation. And it may not be something you could really describe, but the sensation of it. And then the movement of the left side of the chest from in back. What do you feel on the back of the left side of the chest? Maybe you feel some ribs change contact with the floor. And now see if you can maintain this attention to these 4 areas of the chest. And bring your right hand onto your forehead so that your palm is on the forehead and your right fingers are pointed to the left. maintaining attention to those 4 areas of the chest, slowly roll your head a little bit to the left and bring the head back to the middle. And so you begin this gentle, simple movement of rolling the head without interrupting your attention to the sensation of breath in the 4 areas of the chest. And the whole idea here is that the turning of the head itself is of very little importance. It's there so that it creates a situation that adds just a little bit of complexity as you maintain the attention of the breath. All the while feeling where you can reduce the effort. And in order to maintain attention of the breath in these 4 areas of the chest, maybe the rolling of the head, maybe you naturally slowed it down a little bit. Great. And then bring your right hand back down to the floor and just pause and check in. We've been on our back for a while with just some subtle movements. Maybe you want to bend your knees, stand your feet, or change where your legs are. And just feel, just from that rolling of the head to that one side, feel if there's anything different in the way one side of the back contacts the floor. And now bring your left hand to your forehead. And even before you start rolling the head, since you know where we're going, just settle the hand, feel the weight of the hand on the forehead, and bring attention to the 4 areas of the chest, the sensation of breath. And then slowly start to roll the head to the right and back to the middle. And as the head's moving and you're noticing the 4 areas of the chest, you can notice, does one side of the chest expand or deflate more easily than the other? We are not regulating the relationship of the rolling head to an inhale or to an exhale. So the rhythm of your breath is a pace that's happening regardless of where the head is. Great. And now bring your left hand down when your head is in the middle. Just pause for a moment. Still maintaining awareness with your breathing. And then bend your knees and stand your feet and interlace your fingers behind your head. Using the hands to help, slowly make a small movement of lifting your head and then lowering your head. And when you lift your head, the shape of those 4 areas of the chest will change. They will be transformed in some way. So notice what does happen to those 4 areas of the chest, lifting the head and lowering the head. And again, you're not regulating your breath with the movement of the head. And you can just notice, are the 2 sides the same? Are they different? Great. And this next time you bring the head down, just turn your head 45 degrees or so to the right. Your hands are still behind the head, but they're maybe a little bit more sort of near your right ear, and you keep your head slightly biased to the right, and lift and lower your head a few times simply like this. And noticing, are the two sides of the chest somehow different? Do they shape themselves differently when you lift and lower the head? Good. And then just turn the head over to the left about 45 degrees and try it a few times on this side. Feeling how one side of the chest differs from the other. Maybe one side of the chest feels like it has more capacity to expand. Great. All right, let that go. Bring your arms down. Keep your knees bent and your feet standing. Now, we've had a lot of attention to what I'm calling these 4 areas of the chest, but that doesn't mean that there isn't movement lower down in your abdomen as you breathe. So again, without needing to change much of anything, just start to notice what is going on near your lower ribs and across the abdomen, even onto your lower back area. Great. And with your feet on the floor, push your feet a little bit into the floor so that you can start to unweight your pelvis. And start small here so we can move slowly into this. Just what's comfortable. Lifting the pelvis and then setting it back down. And as you lift the pelvis, thinking of your knees moving in the direction of moving over the toes. So you take your thigh bones and you move them a little bit towards the knees as the pelvis lifts. And you can start to progress, if it feels comfortable, lifting your pelvis a little bit higher each time. And that sense of reaching your thighs towards your knees, maybe that gives you this sort of sensation of a pull through the whole skeleton. And we're lifting the heaviest bone, the heaviest part of the body. Are you holding your breath? Can you still have attention to those 4 areas of the chest? And notice how they're changing. The higher the pelvis goes, the more weight comes into the back of the chest. Great. And then you're going to lift your pelvis, and you have the choice to either hold the pelvis there as we go through this next exploration, or slide a pillow underneath it, or slide a block underneath it. And find a height that feels comfortable for you. So with the pelvis lifted, it should feel like you have a little bit more weight in the back of your chest and shoulders. Now, with your attention and the air coming in, could you think of breathing into your right shoulder, in the direction of the right shoulder, so the expansion of your inhale presses towards the right armpit and these different areas of the right shoulder joint. And so now we are changing or manipulating the shape of the breath, as if the shape of the breath could start to mold or press from the inside. And after you inhale, just let the exhale come naturally. Maybe on your exhale, you feel the movement of the ribs that we saw in the image, just that softening of the ribs down, or even a sense of your whole self sinking a little bit as you exhale. Right. And so our attention again is just to feel how on inhale you can direct that expansion to the right side of the chest, front and back. Maybe it pushes behind the collarbone a little bit. And you're using both the attention and the actual change of volume of air in order to shape this sensation. Great. All right, take a moment to lower your pelvis, slide that pillow out. If you'd like to lengthen your legs, you can. And as you rest, is there any kind of resonance that's there? If you let your breath come back to something that's more normal, is there an echo of that attention that we just had on the right side? So just look for that in a way that can stay really curious. If there isn't anything there, then there's nothing there. And that's always a valid answer. Okay, bend your knees again, stand your feet, and lift your pelvis. And remember, you have that option to keep the pelvis lifted with the muscles, or you can slide a pillow or a block underneath your pelvis. And I highly suggest putting something under the pelvis, just so that you can really focus in on the subtle breath attention. And so now do bring your attention over to your left shoulder. And as you breathe in, imagine that the air could go inside a gentle force towards your shoulder joint, behind your collarbone, towards those ribs on the back, left side. And then feeling the pressure change as you exhale. And this changing of shape or manipulation of the shape of the breath, really let it be mild. Remember those secondary muscles that are not necessary for our breathing. The neck, maybe some of the muscles under the armpits. Are those engaging, or can that area be somewhat soft? And if they are engaging, I just ask you to go a little bit more mild. Great. Let that rest. Slide the prop out from under your pelvis. And lower the pelvis to the floor. And then for a moment, sense both the right and the left sides of the chest all the way to the corners, all the way to the armpits. And as you breathe in, can you get a sense that the corners get a little wider from the inside? Like you're breathing into both corners or the edges. Not hurrying the breath. Great. Now, lengthen your right leg if it's bent and stand your left leg. So your left knee is bent, your left foot is standing. And remember how we broke up the chest into these 4 different areas? Let's do that for the lower abdomen. So you have a right side and a left side of the lower abdomen, and then you have a front and a back of each. And you could think of this lower abdomen area from your ribs, your lowest ribs, all the way to your pelvic floor. And take your right arm and bring it out to the side so it's about shoulder height. And then if it's comfortable for you, bring it a little bit, keeping it on the floor, a little bit closer to your head, maybe 45 degrees or so. But just so that it's very clear that the right side of you, because of the shape that you're in, is just a little bit longer. That you're just looking for a sense of length through the right side. And as you inhale, can you think about the right side of your lower abdomen from both in back and in front? And as you inhale, it's as if that space on the right side of the abdomen is moving downward towards the right leg. And that area of the right side of the chest is moving a little bit upwards towards your, right ear, or maybe towards your right hand. And then you exhale when you need to. And so just slowly, when you inhale, you're aware that the right side of the lower abdomen expands, the right side of the chest expands, and it's as if they're traveling away from one another, like you have a long cylindrical balloon, the balloons that you can shape into a dog. You see somebody on the street do that. I don't know if anybody does that anymore, but you're all old enough to remember that, those days. So you can imagine you have that little balloon, and as you inhale, it begins to expand, and it's this long cylindrical space that you start to find through the right side. Maintain your attention to that movement. So with your attention and your breath, you're shaping the shape on the right side, and begin to press your left foot into the floor, rolling the pelvis a little bit to the right, and then bringing the pelvis back to the middle. So rolling the pelvis to the right with the sensation of length on your right side that can come from your inhale. And just notice if right away you start to link the movement, the rolling of the pelvis, with your inhale, a lengthening, or if you link it in any way. And just stay with that if you do feel some ease come from some kind of coordination. But see if you can name what it is that you do. So if you needed to describe to me how you are coordinating your breath and your movement, just to really research it for a moment. And the answer could be, Sarah, I'm not coordinating my breath and my movement. And so they're just separate from each other. And just research that. Great. And then you're going to come to a place where the left side of the pelvis stays lifted, so you feel more weight on the right side. You're welcome to slide something underneath your left pelvis or just keep it there. And you can even roll more so onto your right side, which just might feel like a little bit easier. And so more of the right side, maybe the right armpit, some right chest tissue, Feel the floor. And again, use the inhale to invite this sensation of movement and length into that area of your right side. Take your time with your exhalation. Our exhale is so important for calming our system. So while I am describing in a little bit more detail the shape of your inhale, just making sure that your exhale is not forgotten and you can linger in that exhale as long as feels comfortable. Great. All right, come back to the middle. So lower your pelvis all the way back down. Take both legs long. Take your arm down. And again, notice if there is a response in the sensations from the movements you just did. How does the right side of the body meet the floor compared to the left side? And now bend your right knee, stand your right foot, and take your left arm straight out to the side, maybe a little bit higher than shoulder height if that's comfortable for you. So you start to expose those left side ribs and the armpit. And slowly begin this process of visualizing a sense of length on your left side so that as you inhale, the lower belly on the left side, both front and back, as if they expand towards your left foot. And then the left side of the chest cavity expands a little bit upward towards your head. Good. The jaw is soft. Maybe checking in on the sensations of the face for a moment. Great. And begin to push your right foot down into the floor to lift the right side of the pelvis, letting the body start to roll to the left. Naturally, the left side gets a little bit longer because of the movement. Bringing the pelvis back to the floor, and just slowly with that. And as you roll towards your left side, having this sense of the ability to get longer, to sense more length, internal length from chest to abdomen. And again, noticing if there's any kind of coordination that makes sense for you or that happens spontaneously. Just notice how your head is moving as your pelvis rolls to the left. Great. And then stay with your right pelvis lifted. You can slide something under, or you can roll a little bit more, almost like you're lying on your left side, if that's comfortable for you. And you bring awareness again to the left side of the chest and the left side of the lower abdomen. breathing into this whole side, towards the armpit, towards the left hip. And so, we know that when the volume of something changes, like if you start to blow up a balloon, the pressure pushes in all directions. And so for our image of this right now, you imagine this long cylindrical shape. It could be so long that it goes all the way down to your left foot, up to your left armpit. Of course, we know the breath doesn't go all the way there, but if that image changes the sensation, well, that's cool, first of all, if the image can change the sensation. And it's really the attention. Great. Let that rest come all the way back onto your back. Bring one hand to your lower belly and one hand to your chest. Find a way for them to comfortably rest there. And let's bend the knees and stand the feet for this. So again, we'll play a little bit with how we shape the breath, and just a reminder that these aren't necessarily proper ways of breathing, but in Feldenkrais, we teach different ways to access your entire breathing space. So this next exploration is not prescriptive in any way. As you breathe in, let your abdomen expand. The diaphragm presses down, the belly organs push a little bit or protrude. And then exhale. And just feel for that. Sometimes it's called a belly breath. So when you breathe in and your belly expands, can you feel the hand that's on your chest sinks just a little? And while you expand your abdomen on inhalation, could you slowly roll your head a little bit to one side and the other, letting go of any tension in your eyes? And notice if that rolling of the head disturbs the pace, the rhythm of the breath. Or the rhythm of the breath disturbs the rolling of the head. Why is that of interest to us? Because we want to break up some of those compulsive connections that don't actually have to be there. Okay, bring the head back to the middle. Just let go of that belly breath, or just take a breath without paying too much attention. And shift over your hands. So the hand that's on the chest, bring it to the belly. The hand that's on the belly, bring it to your chest. And now inhale, expand your abdomen like we just did. And as you exhale, can you expand your chest? Think of the 4 compartments of the chest. All of them are filling in all directions. So you inhale and you let your belly expand. And then you exhale and you let the chest expand. And this image might help. You can imagine you have a little balloon or a small ball of some kind. And it's sliding. It slides down as you breathe in, and the belly expands, and it slides up as you breathe out, and the chest expands. Great. All right, let that go. Just let go of that shaping of the breath. Okay, so this time you'll inhale. You can keep one hand on chest, one hand on belly. This time you'll inhale and let the chest expand. And then as you exhale, can you expand your abdomen? It may not feel as easy to access this for some of you. So you inhale, you expand your chest. And then as you exhale, something happens with the diaphragm to push the belly out, to expand the abdomen in all directions. And you can again sense the volume, like there's a little balloon or ball. And as you inhale, it's up in your chest. And as you exhale, it's lower down in your lower abdomen. Great. Let that go. And turn to come onto your belly. So we'll be on our belly for just a little while. So take a moment to get comfortable there. You can turn your head in either direction. You can have your hands alongside your head, overhead, maybe underneath your head. But do turn your head in one direction. Notice what direction that is. And just begin to notice now you have this feedback from the floor for the front surface. And it's a whole new world here. The back of the body's a little bit more bones, usually more firm muscular tissue. And so just feel the way that the front of you meets the floor. Maybe finding a little comfort in that. And notice the movement of your breath. And now on an inhalation, see if you can expand the chest. And as you exhale, expand the abdomen. So you could use the floor here, like you really want to push the floor as you exhale. And as you inhale, you draw the abdomen in and expand the chest. You exhale and you push the belly out. Inhale, expand the chest. And notice, do you feel one side of the floor pushes a little bit more than the other? Does one side of the chest push a little bit more than the other? And does the turning of your head have anything to do with that? So just listen for another breath of the two sides of your chest. And then slowly, gently lift the head, turn it in the other direction, which is probably your non-habitual way. And do the same breathing, taking the air in, expanding the chest. Exhaling, expanding the abdomen. And again, notice if one side of your chest or even one side of your abdomen pushes the floor more. And as you listen for that, whatever side of your chest feels like it expands more, could you exaggerate that a little bit? Remember when we were breathing and pressing towards the shoulder? So whatever side of your chest feels like it's a little easier to expand as you inhale, exaggerate that slightly. And then exhale, push the abdomen towards the floor and feel what happens there. Great. You can pause that breath manipulation and shaping, and slowly lift your head, turn it to the first side, so your more habitual side. And find the second side of your chest. So just a moment ago, you were exaggerating one side of your chest. As you inhale now, can you exaggerate the expansion in the second side? And then you exhale, expand the belly. And when you exhale and you feel the abdomen expand, you can expand the back space, the sacrum, the side waist area, all of these areas. Good. Let that go and slowly roll back onto your back. And as you come onto your back, rest. Just breathe as you wish. Bend your knees and stand your feet. Take a moment to expand your chest. And then expand your abdomen and slowly go from one to the other. And this can be very mild. You can do it with your breath somehow, or you could do it in some other way, but we've been practicing doing it with our breath. So slowly moving from expanding the chest to expanding the abdomen. And as you're doing that, could you roll your head a little to one side and the other? Not necessarily trying to coordinate something, noticing how the rhythms are different. And the whole time you're breathing and you have attention on your whole self. So you're doing a few things that are more detailed, but you don't lose the whole of yourself while you're investigating that detail. Great. Let that all go. Breathe as you'd like. Roll to your side, any side, and just rest on your side. Feel the movement of the breath as you're on your side. Just notice when you are on your side, where's the possibility for expansion? Maybe there's a reason you chose this side. And then slowly make your way up to sit and come up to stand. And as you come up to stand, you can keep the attention of your breathing. Maybe notice if there's a moment you hold your breath. And then just feel in standing, what can you notice about yourself? How are you organized? Does standing upright feel different now? Or maybe there's a different mood that you have, different temperature. And what's your sensation of the movement of the breath, the force of the air coming inside, expanding you forward and back, left and right? Great. You can walk a bit if you'd like. And walking with the sense of the whole body, or how much are you aware of now? Are there new areas of sensation? Are you enjoying this podcast? I've chosen to offer these audio recordings freely for over 15 years. I do this because research shows yoga, yoga nidra, and Feldenkrais to be valuable practices, those which I would like to share widely. Dana, the Buddhist practice of generosity, has always been a pillar of my business. And more generally, dana is the inclination to give without expecting any form of repayment. It does, however, take a fair amount of time, effort, and cost to maintain and keep the podcasts available. If you feel you've benefited from what you've learned from these classes, then please do consider making a contribution towards the maintenance and upkeep of the classes. It will help ensure that I can continue to offer the podcast classes freely and keep generating new material. Give what you can. Give what feels good. If it's too little, it won't feel good. If it's too much, it won't feel good. Links to support the show monetarily can be found in the show notes. And other ways to give include sharing the podcast with others, leaving a 5-star rating and review, or just sending me an email with how the classes have affected you. Thanks so much.